Hey, 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 hey. Welcome to this video about the value of your design and what energy you bring into the world. And I wanted to talk about this topic because I thought it would be really cool to show you how unique we all are. And even though you have a specific human design type and a profile, and a strategy and an authority that may overlap with others. So, for example, like 70% of people are generators or manifesting generators, which is a lot of people, which is a big group. But below the surface of just your type, there is so much uniqueness and so much differentiation in your design, and everything that is there, everything is part of the value of your design. So let's use my design as an example to see and dive in a little bit more into the uniqueness of what it is to be you. And of course, if you would like to pull up your own chart and maybe have some similarities in your design, then yeah, could be really cool to also make this value map of yourself. And I actually wrote all this down, and while creating this video, it was super empowering for myself to see and to really feel also like, hey, this is what I bring. How freaking awesome is that? If I just live out my own design and not try to be everything that I'm not, you know? So let's dive in. Well, first, let's start with the basics. I am a manifesting generator by aura type. And when I say aura type, I mean this is the basic energy mechanic of my being. That is kind of like the surface level that defines my energy. And as a manifesting generator, I have a defined sacral. And if you are a generator or also a manifesting generator, you will also have a defined sacral, which means the red square, the second of below, the second one of below, that one is the sacral center. And if it's red in your design, then it's also means that you are a generator. So you have a defined sacral. And with that defined sacral, I am here to build and I am here to create what I love to do. I have that energy to be a builder and be a creator. And as my manifesting generator aura type, with that, satisfaction is my signature theme. So if you look up on your own chart, you see signature. That is what I long for, satisfaction. So what does that mean to me? To be satisfied. That's my goal in life. And then my strategy, the strategy that comes with my aura type. They are interlinked. And I am here to respond to what life brings me. And my authority is sacral, because my solar plexus, which is the white triangle on on the right side of my design, is open or undefined. It's white, which means that with my sacral is also my authority. And my sacral, or my gut feeling, that's also what you can call it, will help me decide what I should give my energy to in every moment. How powerful is that? I can just listen to my sacral and it will tell me, it will give me this feeling, this bodily sensation, or this sound or movement towards or away from something, showing me what I have energy for and what I don't have energy for. So it's really my guidance in this life. Then let's move up to another part of my design, my profile. I'm a 5-2 hermit. I'm here to universalize my naturalness. I live in a projection field, so it's really hard to truly see me because, yeah, both with the 5 and the 2, I will get positive projections with the 5, so people see things in me, see me as a savior. They see things, they project things that I can do for them. But that's not always necessarily true. So it's very important for me to be picky there. And the second line is also in a projection field, but it's more of it's a different kind of projection where the 5 is more positive and they can put you on a pedestal, like, whoa, she's really got it all and she's really the hero. The second line is different. The second line projection is more, I wouldn't say negative, but it's more, yeah, if you have a second line, people are also seeing things in you, like what you can do, but the projection is more like, yeah, but they probably won't. So you'll get a lot of I get a lot of, yeah, you should do this, or maybe you should do that, because people see things in me that I might be good at. So the fifth line personality, which is the conscious side of my profile, with that, I bring a different perspective. It's the heretic. It's the one that wants to change something. It's the one that mm, wants to shake and stir things up and bringing that different perspective. And also here to be an agent of change by bringing practical solutions. And the practical part is really important for the fifth one, for me. I really noticed that as well. I want to bring practical things. My second line body is the unconscious part of my profile, which is basically a natural, but also the hermit. And I need my alone time. And this is my body part. And since I've become more in tune with my body the past, let's say, 5 years, that side has become more present. That side, I'm honoring that side more and more without judging it. But obviously, there's also this naturalness in the second line. And being a natural, I cannot really explain what I do, how I do what I do. So sometimes that can come with a little bit uncertainty or a little bit of anxiety because I'm not able to explain things. I'm just doing things and I'm not always aware of how I do what I do, and how valuable that is to others. And also what's interesting to say in with my profile, and probably this is also something that you might recognize in your own profile, that there's always kind of a contradiction in your profile. And for me, the 5 is really more outward. It wants to bring change, it wants to bring solutions, it wants to engage with people. It's here to be a stranger of consequence and really interact with others. But my second line hermit wants to just hide out, be alone, chill, and not be bothered with people. So you see that contradiction there already in my profile, and there are a lot of contradictions in everyone's chart, or maybe it depends on the level of combinations you have in your chart. But yeah, you probably sometimes feel like, hey, I have a tendency to want to go do this, but then at the same time I always also feel like I need my alone time, or like this introvert extrovert kind of combination that I've always felt within myself. But then obviously I wanted to put myself in a box and say, no, I'm extrovert, no, I'm an introvert. But turns out I'm a little bit of both. So if you recognize this, it's really cool to see in your chart that there's nothing wrong with you. You don't have to be one or the other. You're just a combination of both. And they will live out in your own unique way perfectly when you live your own design and honor who you are and value yourself. Let's move on to the life force. And when I talk about life force, here I'm talking about my definition. So the definition is the colored in channels and the centers. And the centers, as you can see in my design, the colored in ones, it doesn't really matter. The colors itself don't really have a meaning. So don't really have to go into that or wonder what that's all about. But the blackness and the redness of the channels, so the lines you see connecting both, connecting the centers, those are either red or black. And they correspond with the design side, so the left side, the body, and the black ones, they correspond with the mind, the personality side on the right side, the right black numbers there. So if you look at this here, to give you a little bit of an overview, you see in my design I have mainly red channels. And the channels, they link two centers to each other, which means that there is a consistent life flow of energy moving there, moving between those centers. And because most of my channels are red, there's only one that's fully conscious black. I have no conscious access to that energy. It's always there and it's always expressing itself, but I'm probably not aware of it. It just happens. And of course, with my experiment going on to another level and I'm going deeper into my experiment, I can be more aware of that specific energy, but it's always going to be in like hindsight. It's always going to be like, oh, hey, oh, this came out of me. I did this. Oh, this is an example of that. Yes. And it's very cool to have that this blueprint, this map of my own energy to really see how it plays out. I really like to observe that and see that within myself, but also in others. So, my life force. The first channel that I have, basically, which is a very important one for me because it's connected to my body and it's also in my sun and my earth, which is the top two numbers you see on the left side. You see the 20.2 and you see the 34.2 underneath. And together they make the channel of charisma, the 3420 or 2034. And that is a super powerful energy because it connects the sacral to the throat directly. And what it means is that I am here to be busy with what I love to do. This is a channel where thoughts become deeds, like immediately. So it can be super fast. It's the pure manifesting generator channel. I'm super fast and I can bring things into expression, into manifestation, into life very fast when I respond to it. Only when I respond to it. And it's a very self-absorbed channel. It's all about me. It's part of an integration circuitry. It's all about me being busy with things that I love to do. And it's not available for you. And that's perfect as it is. Another thing that I bring, that my energy brings, which is also unconscious, is the channel of initiation. I bring empowerment here. It's about individual empowerment and shock by jumping into the unknown. It connects my G center, the center of love, direction, to my heart center, my ego center. So whenever I have the willpower in response, I am able to jump into the unknown, into the nothingness, to pioneer and come back to my own spirit and be an empowering force for others while doing that. Then I have two collective channels. So the first two ones I talked about are individual. And individual is all about empowerment. It's about being different from the collective and from the tribe, bringing something new. Then my collective channels are about sharing, 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 and sharing. And they both come from my sacral center. The 15-5, the channel of rhythm, and the 64-29, the channel of discovery. They both link my sacral center to the G center. So what I bring, what the energy is that I bring and share is my flow, my rhythm, my experiences, and my commitments. That's what I'm here to share. Then there's also two tribal channels in my design. So as you can see, I'm a little bit of both. Or not both. I'm a little bit of everything. So there's obviously an interesting thing to recognize here, that there's a lot of differences. There's a lot of different channels, and they play out in a different way, but they are all part of me. So there's an individual part within me that just wants to be myself, and that wants to be busy with myself, not be bothered, jump into the unknown, shock people, and it's all unconscious. And then there's also this part that wants to share, that wants to share, that wants to share experiences, that wants to go on new adventures, say yes to new things, say yes to life, follow my own flow. And then there's also a tribal part within myself. And I really love to lay it all out this way, and becoming aware of everything that I bring, because it has enabled me to value all of myself and not judge parts within me that I couldn't understand very well. Because sometimes what happens is identifying with just one part, like, no, I'm just the individual part, right? I'm different. I feel so different. But then also acknowledging that there's also me, a part of me that wants to connect and wants to share, and also bringing something to my tribe, whatever that tribe may be. It can be family, but it can also be a different kind of tribe. And with my specific channels, both coming from the heart center, which is all about the tribe and the material plane, I bring support. And I support my tribe by educating and transmitting in integrity to have us all thrive. Yes, that ego center can be like, yes, it is about willpower, and it is about having an ego in a sense, but the main channels that come out of there, except for the one, the 21, the 25, 51 initiation, they're all tribal. So for me, in my experience, I really feel that I have the willpower, and I really feel like when my heart is speaking, I have the willpower and the energy to support and contribute to my tribe. And yet at the same time, it also is very much about myself, which is definitely what I feel and what I can connect to and can relate to. But yeah, I really want to empower and to support, to have everyone flourish. That is what this feels for me. I want to make things better for the group, for not just for me, but for the tribe. And then there's my gates in defined centers. And these are what we call active gates. I wanted to say dormant, but that's the dormant part. The dormant gates are actually the ones sleeping in the open centers. And they have a different kind of function. They're not really part of my consistent life force energy that I'm here to bring. They are like sleeping until someone with a gate on the other end of that channel comes and wakes it up. And that's how I can, when I can really experience that energy. But it's mainly where I'm here to become wise, and I'll go into that a little later. But in my defined gates, what I also bring is nourishment, depth, innovation, purpose, remembrance, and intimacy. Wow, this is so cool, right? And of course, this is just still just the surface, because it all works together, and it also depends on how it plays out in my life. And maybe it's not always on the same at the same time together, but it's all part of me. It's all part of the energy that I'm here to bring. And I touched upon it just now when I talked about the dormant gates. But in my openness, there is also some value. And it's not the energy that I bring, it's not the energy that I emanate out or transmit or put out in the world, but it's the place where I can become wise. It's where I can learn about life, which is cool, right? Because in the end, we're all here to learn from our experiences, to learn from whatever we encounter, learn from our mistakes, from things we change. We're here to develop, to learn, and to expand our consciousness and awareness about it. So, in my openness, I have an undefined head, completely open head, the top center. There's no gates there. So, the wisdom I'm here to learn is to be discerning of what I let myself be inspired by, and not be overwhelmed with all the things that come towards me, and not be taking away from my inner sacral authority to make decisions. In my undefined ajna, which is the second one from the top, I am here to be open minded and fluid in my opinions, concepts, and answers. And when I learned this is so valuable. It's so nice to experiment with this, to see that these parts are also part of me, and that when I am open minded and I don't have an answer to things, or I don't know what next step I would take, that's okay. Especially with both of these centers open, I don't know is has become my best friend. And it's perfectly cool and okay to don't have an answer and to not be certain, which is obviously what I have been trying to be all my life. I'm feeling very mentally anxious if I didn't have an answer, if I didn't feel prepared, if I felt that I would be wrong, stupid. Let's go to the next one, the undefined root. The root, yeah, the pressure from the root, just also what has all to do about stress, adrenaline. And what I'm here to learn in that center is to be relaxed without being hijacked by pressure to rush things. This is still an ongoing process for me, but being aware of it when I am being hijacked by this pressure, I can just see it and become aware and say, hey, let's take a break. Let's take a breath. Let's take a pause. And then the last one, undefined solar plexus. This center is all to do with emotions and nervousness, emotional intelligence. And I am here because I'm open there to be empathetic, empathic, and become wise about emotions. And that they are ever changing, that there's ups, there's downs. That's truly okay. That's how life is. There's always going to be these ups and downs in the flow of life, and that's part of the beauty. And I'm really here to experiment, to experience all the different emotions, the whole spectrum, and to really, yeah, become wise there and learn about it and share that with everyone. Then let's look a little bit at my body substructure. And these things are really below the surface. And I'm not going to go into all the details, but I just want to, yeah, share and let you know that there's so much uniqueness. So even if you have the same channel as I do, or the same definition, the same openness, maybe, or even the same gates, the same centers colored in, or you are also manifesting generator, that there's still so much more uniqueness when you combine everything in your design, which is of value, which is what you are here to shine through. So the substructure. And when I'm talking about the substructure, I'm going into the arrows and the numbers there. You see on both sides of the head and ajna centers. You see on the left side, you see the red arrows, and on the right side, you see the right arrows. So the first one is the top left arrow, which is about my determination, my brain. And I have a brain that's pointed to the left, which means my brain needs to feed regularly and be active. I have an active brain. It's always working. And it needs to be stimulated, needs to be active, it needs to be, yeah, it's working all the time. And I really noticed that my brain is like, when I wake up, it's just like boom, it's on. And I need food, not at specific times, but I do need food on a regular basis. And when I'm hungry and I don't eat, I really, really feel it and I really don't feel well. I really get hangry. This is really funny. And I already knew this before I knew anything about human design. And of course, this is about the body. This is about my body side. And then my determination, which is part of my left brain, is consecutive. And this is about my digestion, how my body digests things, so food, but also other things, best. And this is consecutive is the color 1. And there are 6 different determinations. And the 1 is the first. And the 1 is always also the most primitive and most rigid digestive type. And what it means that I have to take in one thing at a time to properly digest my food, which is still a journey for me. It's I've noticed in the past years how beneficial simple food has been for me, and very good quality of the food. And I've had so much digestive issues. So when I learned about this, it felt really good to start experimenting with this right away, to just see what happened in my body. And I even before human design, I already eliminated so much food, and I was already tending towards simpler food and more wholesome food and less processed. But yeah, going to single things, it's really a challenge. You can compare this one with the caveman diet, the hunter, the huntress, and really, yeah, eating like this, like they did when were still living in caves. Then this part of the substructure is what we call tone, and this is the triangle you see on the top left hand arrow below the arrow. And there's you see a 3. And the 3 is what we call outer vision, cognition. And your cognition is basically my strongest sense. And the outer vision cognition is also linked to this determination. So what I take in has to look good to me. And also I have the ability to see how things can come together. I can really, that's what I've experienced for so long. I can really visualize already in my head and see how things might play out, or I can already see, not with closing my eyes or something, but just see how to create something, or to how something would look. Yeah, it's such an interesting thing. And obviously that cognition, so that outer vision cognition, it's linked to my food, so it has to look good to me. And at the same time, it also comes out stronger when I eat according to my determination. So it works both ways, kind of. And I'm still experimenting with this, and it's interesting to watch how it plays out and what's yeah, how I can tap into my strongest sense and what it brings me in this life. Then, and I'm still at the left part, I'm still at the body part. I also have the second arrow. So it's the second arrow on the left side. This is about my environment, and this is also pointing to the left. It's what environment my body really thrives in and is most healthy for my body. And a left environment means that I'm here to be active and observed in that environment. So my body needs to be active and observed. And when I say active, it's not just about running around all the time or jogging or doing sports or jumping up and down. It's about being occupied with something. And that is really when I listen to my variable combination, which is like the left, left, right, right. So the design left, left, and the personality right, right. From Ra Uru, it was so interesting to learn this, and he emphasized that on my left environment that it's about being occupied with something, and I really noticed that within myself. My body is, yeah, it's just always occupied with something, doing something, and it needs to have something to be occupied with, and my brain also. So my body is just like doing, and it doesn't really matter what that is. It's being occupied, which can be also reading a book, but it's not like observing the environment. And basically, I'm not here to be like a couch potato. But hey, sometimes I am because I have a defined heart and my heart wants to rest. And, you know, yeah, there's a lot of everything comes into play when you put it together. So, and now I'm talking obviously about all the different parts, but you have to really look at it holistically and see how that shows up in your life. So, what then is the color of my left environment? So then we look at the circle again under the left arrow, and in the circle you see again a 1. That my determination in the first one, it was also a 1, which was the most simple and rigid determination, eating one thing at a time, digesting one thing at a time. And now the other part of my body's configuration in the substructure is also a 1. And when I'm talking about the 1, it has so much to do with safety and security. And, well, basically, it says it all when you look at caves. And a cave is basically a place that feels safe, that only has one door, one entrance. And I'm very selective of who enters my space. I really always want to sit with my back against the wall, and it really scares me to death when someone creeps up to me from behind. And all the things that I'm now sharing, I already felt that even before I knew anything about human design. So this was so much confirmation. I was like, wow, this is what I've been feeling all along. And of course, together with my being a hermit on my body side, it's basically like being alone, want to be left alone in my cave without any people there, and being very selective who enters it. Yeah, it's so interesting. And that's also how I work best, digesting one person at a time, one thing at a time, one, um, yeah, one person entering my safe space, my cave, basically. And of course, there can be different expressions of what a cave is, and doesn't mean I never have to get out of the house, but, well, it's just I really feel that it nourishes my body, especially when I've been in a group environment or out and about doing things. with other people, it really nourishes me, and I really need to come back to my cave and relax and back to myself. And I'm becoming more and more aware of what that does to my body. So that was the body part. And then there's also the mind part, the mind substructure, which is the right side. And here you see two arrows in the black that are pointing to the right, which is really interesting and funny. So when you talk about the right mind, I have a right, talk about the mind, I have a right mind. And my right mind means that I'm receptive and I take it all in, what comes to me, read, or what comes into my awareness, because it's so peripheral, it's not focused on a specific thing, it's not strategic. And by being receptive, I cannot really go into my own brain and remember what I've learned. I don't really work well strategically, but I do take it all in. And learning about this was so, so helpful. And I'm still becoming more aware and experimenting, of course, but it means I'm a resource for others to draw from me. And I really have been noticing this in conversations, that whatever is inside of me, it will come out when people ask me things or when I'm with other people. And of course, it depends on what they ask. It depends on who I'm with, what comes out. So basically, I can be a resource about whatever I've been taking in, but you have to draw it out of me because I cannot really access it myself, or at least not the depth, not everything. And that has felt quite frustrating sometimes, because I wouldn't be able to recall what I've taken in and be strategic about it, and then explain it to other people. I just wasn't able to do that. But when I'm with someone, for example, in a session with clients or in a conversation, or when I'm looking at a chart, then it's just there. And I'm just sharing all these things that I didn't even know were in there, that I couldn't get there myself. And it has given me so much relief to just relax into that, to not having to be strategic with this, and to give myself permission, also with my undefined head and Ajna together, to not have the answers, to not know, and to let myself basically forget what I've learned and what I've taken in, instead of trying to remember everything and trying to recall that from within myself, because I really I can't. I have trouble with that. That's kind of, it's okay. That's also, it's part of my value. I'm a resource and you can draw from it because it's all there. Then looking at the color here. So it's the color on the right top hand, the circle on the right top hand arrow below the arrow, which says 6. And this is all about my motivation. And my motivation is is basically how I'm here to conceptualize. It's how my mind is driven, what my mind is driven by to communicate with you. So it's not like the mind is not the inner authority. It's never the inner authority in human design, but it's what my mind is driven here as an outer authority for you to communicate with you. And here also there are six variations, and for me it's innocence, which is a six. And being innocent in communication with you, my mind has no agenda. The six is all about objectivity, neutrality, and it doesn't really want to be involved. It doesn't really care about being the leader or leading you into some sort of path or being focused on a specific goal. Basically, innocence motivation is also sometimes called no motivation. It's beyond motivation because it doesn't really have a motivation in communicating or in sharing what it wants to share or do. And what happens in motivation is that it can transfer. And probably if you come to design for the first time, and for mostly for everyone, this transference is what you recognize more than your true motivation, because your true motivation can actually only really come out, or my true motivation, when I'm feeding my body correctly, and when I'm in the right environment, and when I'm having the right perspective. And when I'm really following my sacral authority, when I'm following my strategy and authority. And otherwise, when I'm living from my not self and letting my mind take control, then I am not in this innocence motivation. So it's really interesting to, for me also, to have this as a signpost like, hey, becoming aware of that, because it's not something that I can consciously do. It's basically more something that I can watch and observe. And then we come to the tone on this side as well. It's the fourth it's a triangle on the right top arrow. So you see there the six in the circle, and then you see the triangle. It's at four. So it's basically the same as cognition on the other side, but here the four is inner vision or meditation. It's also called meditation sense, and now it has to do with my mind, so with my mental activity. And with meditation sense, I have the ability to observe my mind from within. That's basically not, yeah, I also do love meditation, but it's also, this is mainly about watching and being aware of my mind. And that's an ability that I have, and I really have noticed that it's something that I can do, and I love doing it. I do. I love to observe from within, to really watch that. Then go to the second arrow on the right hand side, the right bottom arrow, the last one, which is also pointing to the right. So I have this left body and right mind, which is such a funny combination. And you can have like 16 different combinations of these variables, and then also the different variations in the tones, in the colors. So you see how much differentiation there is here. And in the view, this is all about perspective. So this is what I am, like, the motivation is here, is what I am driven by, or what my mind is here is driven by, to communicate and to put out in the world, or to create, or to um, to express to you as an outer authority, but the view is about what I'm here to see. And it's very specific. So it also is interesting to realize that we're not here to see the same things, and we're not here to see in the same way, which is obviously something that I've already noticed and already seen around me, that there are so many different perspectives and people can see from so many different lenses based on your own experiences, but also based on your view. And here you see the 5 in the circle, so the 5th color. And with my right view, being right, it means that I see what I'm not supposed to see. I have a very peripheral view, as we call it, peripheral perspective. And it means that I'm not focused on something when I look at the outside world. I'm not focused on one specific part and really remember the details and seeing that. But my view is like more peripheral. It's more open. And I take in everything, especially also with my right mind, I take in everything, but also with this view, I see, like, how I've experienced it is that I not only hear what you say, like the words, but I also really hear the tone, and I see your body language. I see what your mouth is doing, and I really hear like yeah, everything. And that's really interesting to me. And I always thought like, yeah, but everyone understands this, right? And everyone, I thought it would be the same for everyone, but it's not. And human design showed me that. And also, yeah, showed me what is correct for me to be, and then to become aware of that. Also, when it transfers here. So, my specific view is the 5th color, as I mentioned. It's the 5 in the circle. And the 5 is called probability view. So that means that I'm here to see what can happen or what will happen, what is probable. And here it can transfer, like with the innocent, it can also transfer. So it can also, I can be, for example, so what it means that is that when I'm not following my strategy and authority, when I'm not aligned with my unique design, I live out my not self, then I will be distracted, and I will not see this. I will not see what is probable, but I will be distracted by what is possible. And I will be only be looking at what is possible in my environment instead of seeing what will happen or what can happen, what will probably happen, which is obviously something completely different. So yeah, this is really an interesting to be aware of all these different parts in your design. And when I bring it all together, let's look at this differentiation and what I'm here to bring, what I'm here to be, to embody. And yeah, that's awesome to see that and to become aware of that, and that it's all part of me. It's all what I bring. And it's really, if you feel like, yay, I'm going to do this too, then of course, go for it. And it really has helped me to, yeah, become more acceptant of myself, aware, loving, and just more at ease with being me and expressing that into the world. And knowing that there is a place for all this uniqueness and that I don't have to hide any of it. or change any of it. And it's what I'm here to discover and learn and share with you in this life. So I hope you enjoyed all of this. So, yeah, let's celebrate our unique gifts and our design and love ourselves and honor our inner authority. I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you feel like you want to share it or have any comments or any questions or want to share your own design in the comments, then feel free to do so, and hope to see you in the next video. Bye bye.